Imagine a place where time is stopped, a place where outsiders are met not with curiosity but with arrows, a place where the modern world, with its satellites, airplanes, and global networks, simply does not exist. This is North Sentinel Island, and it may be the most dangerous, forbidden island on Earth. For centuries, people who've tried to visit have vanished, been killed, or barely escaped with their lives. And yet, the mystery surrounding the island only grows darker the more we learn. Today, we're uncovering the chilling true story of North Sentinel Island, one of the last untouched worlds on Earth. North Sentinel Island lies in the Andaman and Nicobar chain in the Bay of Bengal, technically under Indian control. From above, it looks like paradise. Turquoise waters, white sand beaches, and dense green jungle. But this island is unlike any other. Its inhabitants, the Sentinelese people, are among the very last uncontacted tribes on the planet. They live with no known modern technology, no documented agriculture, and no written language. To this day, we don't even know how many of them exist. Some estimates say 50, others say 200. And what we know for certain is this: they do not want contact with the outside world. Anyone who dares approach risks their life. The island's dark reputation dates back centuries. In 1867, a British naval officer shipwrecked near the island and recorded his men being attacked by tribesmen armed with bows and spears. They barely escaped with their lives. In 1880, British colonial administrator Maurice Vidal Portman kidnapped 6 Sentinelese, 2 adults and 4 children. The adults quickly became sick and died, likely from exposure to foreign diseases. The children were returned to the island, terrified. Many believe this event shaped the tribe's hostility toward outsiders for generations to come. In 1896, an escaped convict from a nearby penal colony washed ashore. Days later, his body was discovered on the shore, showing clear signs of an attack. It became clear: North Sentinel was not just another remote island, it was a fortress. In the 20th century, there were repeated attempts to reach out to the Sentinelese. Anthropologists and government researchers staged carefully planned expeditions, hoping to establish peaceful contact. These were not casual visits. They were orchestrated with precision, often involving boats packed with supplies and small offerings meant to show goodwill. The gifts left on the beaches ranged from coconuts to iron tools to live animals such as pigs. To outsiders, these offerings symbolized friendship, but to the Sentinelese, they may have meant nothing at all. Or worse, they may have been perceived as threats. At times, the islanders tolerated the gifts, watching cautiously from the tree line as strangers placed objects on the sand. Other times, the response was far less forgiving. Arrows rained down on the visitors, sending a clear message: leave or pay the price. One of the most famous encounters occurred in 1974. A National Geographic team set out to film a documentary about the mysterious tribe. As their boat drew closer, tension rose. The crew hoped their cameras would capture a rare glimpse into a world untouched by modern civilization. Instead, they captured something very different. Sentinelese warriors emerged, weapons drawn, and launched a sudden attack. Arrows cut through the air. One of the crew members was struck in the leg, the projectile lodging deep into his flesh. The scene was chaotic, frightening, and unforgettable. But what made it remarkable was this: the entire confrontation was recorded on film. What was meant to be a documentary about peaceful contact became evidence of the islanders' fierce determination to remain undisturbed. Decades later, in 2006, the island again made global headlines. 2 fishermen working illegally in the restricted waters drifted too close to the shore while crabbing. Their boat became lodged on the reef, and before they could escape, Sentinelese warriors struck. Both men were killed on the beach. When the Indian Coast Guard later attempted to recover their bodies, they sent a helicopter to hover low over the sands. But even then, the tribe defended its territory. Warriors fired arrows skyward, forcing the helicopter to retreat. The recovery mission was abandoned, and the bodies of the fishermen were never retrieved. Then came the most infamous encounter of all. In 2018, American missionary John Allen Chau deliberately set out to make contact with the Sentinelese. He believed it was his mission to bring Christianity to one of the last uncontacted peoples on Earth. To reach them, he bribed local fishermen to smuggle him past the heavily patrolled exclusion zone. Chow's own writings, discovered after his death, paint a haunting picture of his mindset. In his diary, he confessed his fear, openly admitting, "I could die. Would it be wiser to leave and let someone else continue?" But despite those doubts, he pressed forward, convinced that his mission outweighed the danger. What happened next has been pieced together from his notes and from the accounts of those who ferried him to the island. On his first approach, Chow shouted religious messages to the Sentinelese. They responded with hostility, firing arrows in his direction. One even pierced his waterproof Bible. Still, he returned again, undeterred. Within days, Chow was dead. Reports suggest he was struck down on the beach shortly after wading ashore. Local fishermen later claimed to have seen his body dragged across the sand, but it was never recovered. The Indian authorities, respecting the Sentinelese way of life and aware of the dangers, refused to attempt a retrieval. His remains, like those of the fishermen years before, were left on the island. The story of John Allen Chow became a global controversy, sparking debates about faith, isolation, and the right of an ancient people to remain undisturbed. But in the end, the outcome was the same as every contact attempt before it. The Sentinelese rejected intrusion as they always had. The Indian government has since made it illegal to approach within 3 nautical miles of North Sentinel. Violators face heavy fines and jail time, not just for their own safety, but to protect the Sentinelese. Why? Because they may have lived in isolation for tens of thousands of years, completely cut off from the outside world. That means they have no immunity to common diseases. A simple cold could wipe them out. What's chilling is that despite satellites, drones, and modern science, almost nothing is known about their daily life. Do they have rituals? Religion? How do they govern themselves? To the rest of the world, these questions remain a mystery. The jungle canopy hides everything. The only glimpses come from fleeting encounters. A group of hunters emerging from the trees, a child climbing on a parent's shoulders, or arrows flying toward anyone who dares to look closer. Anthropologists believe the Sentinelese are direct descendants of the first humans to leave Africa, meaning they may have lived here in complete isolation for over 60,000 years. But big questions remain. How many are left? Some reports suggest fewer than 100, while others estimate a few hundred. Why are they so hostile? Was their violence born from the trauma of Portman's kidnappings, or is it simply a survival instinct passed down through generations? What lies within the island's interior? No outsider has ever explored the jungle. Could there be structures, traditions, or entire ways of life that the modern world will never witness? And perhaps the most unsettling question: what happens when modern civilization inevitably pushes closer? Will the Sentinelese survive or vanish like so many other isolated tribes throughout history? North Sentinel Island is a living paradox. A speck of land in the 21st century where the Stone Age still exists. A place forbidden not just by law, but by nature itself. It is perhaps the closest thing we have to another world. And it sits on our own planet. And maybe that's for the best. Because sometimes mysteries are meant to remain unsolved.